Hi, so for our book club this week, we chose to read Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. Before I read Speak, I'd only read one book by her, and it was Fever, and I hadn't read that since I was in like 4th grade. I remember loving it, but I really couldn't tell you now what it was about. So I was really excited to read Speak and kind of get a better feel for her style of writing and if it's something that I would have wanted to teach in my classroom. And we actually went to hear her talk at Quail Ridge on Thursday night, which was really, really cool. We got to meet her. She signed the book. She, like everyone else, spoke on the election. And I mean, it was really cool to kind of meet someone who's done so well and read such a really cool, not read, but written such a cool piece and been so influential for so many young adults and adults alike. The book itself, I was kind of surprised. I don't know what I expected. I guess I was nervous about reading it initially because I knew it was about a rape, and I'm really sensitive about stuff like that. My stomach gets hurt. I get really sick to my stomach. I can't even watch Law and Order SVU by myself because I get freaked out. So I was really, really nervous about reading it, but the book itself was written in a kind of style that was very, it was kind of like an inner monologue, so it made it nice. It made you followed along with her thoughts, and you didn't actually figure out that the rape wasn't talked about until halfway, 3/4 way through the book, which that in itself, it wasn't too descriptive, and that made me more comfortable with approaching the topic in a middle school classroom. That being said, I still don't know that I would teach it in 6th grade, or teach the book itself in 6th grade. I think I would definitely approach it in an 8th grade classroom. At that point, they're old enough. Kids are exposed to so much more than we even realize. But, sorry. I think 6 is too young, and as a future parent, I don't even know that I will want my 6th grader reading it in a classroom. I think individually, kids can make that choice, so it's definitely going to be on my bookshelf. That's one of the great things about this year is I've been adding a lot of books to my future classroom bookshelf. But I do think that 7th grade you could swing it to if you really wanted to, and that would be appropriate. Like I said, it was an inner monologue, which the style of it really kind of threw me off a little bit, and I can see how it would appeal to other people. For me, the plot itself was not, I enjoyed the way it was written because you didn't find out about the actual rape and the cause of all of her social issues, the actual cause, not just that she called the cops on the party. Another part that I found really interesting was that as I guess an adult, I was questioning if this was a regular, I knew it wasn't a regular transition to high school, but kids go through such a big change in that summer before high school, and they're all trying to stress out. Like the book said, they're trying to find their groups, they're making themselves, Rachel made herself into a foreign exchange student, everyone wants to fit in somewhere. So I was trying to, I kept questioning, what was she really like before them? What was her group like in middle school? And I knew it, I just really wanted more detail, I guess, for my own personal questions on if it was if there was other reasons besides the rape, but it focused a lot more on her physical and emotional and the social impact that the rape at the party had taken on her, and then socially when she called the cops, literally the entire high school started to hate her, which in my opinion I was I don't know if that would actually, no, that would happen. When I was in high school, a kid called the cops on a party because he decided, I think he was drinking too much, and he called the cops on a party, and it got busted. And kids at, the seniors at my high school started this whole thing, a hashtag on Twitter against him. So just remember that, and that definitely does happen, that the entire school, ridiculously enough, turns against you. Sadly enough, and that's one of the things that's actually really intimidating teaching in a classroom is how you know that's happening. Especially as a young teacher, we're going to pick up on that. You're going to know. And it's kind of how you connect to the kids and help them realize life goes on past this. I think out of the entire book, my favorite part was on page, Speak, page 185. And this part of the book, and this is obvious, is there's barely anything left, you can see. Melinda has been exploring like herself through the trees, like her art project, and Ivy, her old friend from middle school, is in her classroom, her art class, and is really artistic, and they all like are kind of finding themselves in high school. And Ivy takes her into the bathroom and is like, Melinda, look on the bathroom wall, look what people wrote. And it says, it's like Melinda wrote the guys to stay away from, and it said Andy Evans, which is the senior who raped her. And the coolest part for me is that Melinda, like the entire book, had been very isolated. And she, I mean, her lips, like you could tell like this like the emotional toll it was taking on her from not telling anyone was coming out physically. Like her lips were so chapped from being so anxious, and like it was really, really disturbing for me to read that. But underneath where she wrote guys to stay away from, Andy Evans, all these other girls had commented or written back on the bathroom wall, which is like a very stereotypical high school thing to do. And they were all like, stay away, like he should be locked up, like call the cops, like all this awful stuff. And so it was like she was so vindicated for being so isolated for so long. I like kind of rejoiced with the character to be like, even though it wasn't solving anything in terms of the rape, and like she still hadn't told her parents, and she was still having awful grades, which the book kept you updated with. Like it kept saying like grade English, grade social studies, grade math, like FD, and like the grades gradually like got worse and worse and worse, despite like her mini meetings with the parents and the guidance counselor and the principal, which as a teacher that made me feel kind of hopeless. Like, oh, you can do all you can, but the kids are still going to have their own inner struggles that they're not going to want to talk about. But like I said, I think I would really incorporate this book into a 7th, probably 8th grade classroom. It would be great in a bullying unit, just as like a thinking ahead. I don't really know what other units, because I don't think I would ever do an entire unit on rape, but like there's so many different layers to the book that you can really, I mean, CPVs, like you could do CPVs on the bullying, you could do CPVs on the rape itself, you could do CPVs of a party calling the cops, kids drinking underage in 8th grade, which is ridiculous. I never drank in high school. Like, kids, that's so young. But there's so much depth to it that I think it can be incorporated into more units than just bullying. it'd have to click for me to like think further than just bullying for right now, but I see a lot of potential with it. And just as like a little side note, like the book itself could be, I mean, I think it's really great just to have on my classroom shelf, because like the way that Laurie Halse Anderson writes it really shows that it can happen to anyone. Like I think all girls, and I guess guys go through it too, but you always have like your little group in middle school. Like everyone's like very settled, like yeah, middle school is so trying, and like you're so like awkward, but you all have your group. And I think the big part of this book shows it's not just like the rape can happen to anyone, but like this social transition, this social isolation, like these bad things can happen to anyone. And I think kids need to realize that like people do want to help. Like we do want to be there. Your friends, I don't want to say life will go on because it's about a rape, but just like bringing it to a broader sense. Like the book is really all inclusive, that bad things can happen and you can become better from it. And on that note, I read the Q&A at the end with Laurie Halse Anderson, which was cool because her voice really comes out through her Q&A. Like after hearing her speak on Thursday, you really see like the way she talks is the way she answered in the Q&A, which was really fun just to read. But she was saying that everyone wants her to write a sequel. And really, I'm not a big sequel kind of person, but I really want her to write a sequel. I really want to see Andy Evans locked up. I really want to see Melinda go through the rest of high school. And she left like a little cliffhanger and said that one might be coming in the future. So let's hope that's another book that I can someday incorporate into my classroom too.